I was in the middle of a client meeting when the lobby doors burst open with such force that the glass rattled. Conversation stopped. Heads turned, and there she was, Karen Miller, president of our neighborhood HOA, strutting across the marble floor like she owned the place. Her face was a deep shade of red, eyes blazing with that particular mix of rage and self-importance I'd come to know too well. She didn't even hesitate. "You're fired, effective immediately," she shouted, her voice echoing through the lobby like a gavel hitting a courtroom desk. "Pack your things and get out of my building within the hour." My clients looked stunned. A couple even shifted in their seats, unsure whether to stand or just disappear. Meanwhile, Karen stood tall, arms crossed, lips curling into a smug little smile, savoring the moment, soaking in the power she thought she had. But what she didn't know, what made me meet her glare without flinching, was that the power dynamic had already changed. I calmly replied, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Karen," she let out a short, mocking laugh. "The only misunderstanding is that you thought you could keep working here after your pathetic performance. Now, get out before I call security." The lobby went dead silent. Even the receptionist looked pale. If only they knew the truth. 6 weeks earlier, I'd been just another financial advisor in this same building, a modest job that paid the bills. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved helping clients plan for their futures. Unfortunately, Karen made every day feel like walking on eggshells. Not only was she the president of our HOA, the self-appointed queen of our suburban neighborhood, but she was also the office manager for our building. That meant 2 thrones to rule from. She micromanaged everything, from the thermostat setting to where we parked. She'd measure blinds to make sure they hung evenly and send official reminders if you used a coffee mug that wasn't company approved. If you crossed her, you'd mysteriously find HOA violation letters in your mailbox at home, citations for things like dusty mailbox flags or improperly aligned trash cans. It was her way of reminding everyone who held the real power I'd watched great employees quit rather than deal with her. I nearly did too, but fate had something else in store. 2 months earlier, my uncle passed away unexpectedly. He had no children, and to my shock, left me a substantial inheritance. I'd always dreamed of investing in real estate, so when I found out that the very building where I worked was quietly up for sale, it felt like destiny. Through a holding company I formed, Smith Properties, I made an offer. Within a few weeks, it was accepted. Karen had no clue. Meanwhile, she was getting worse. She sent daily emails nitpicking employee behavior, installed security cameras pointed directly at desks, and scolded us if we talked too loudly. At the HOA meetings, she wielded power like a sword, fining neighbors for petty infractions. I'll never forget when she made Mrs. Peterson, a 70-year-old widow, cry over a $500 fine for having unapproved flowers in her front yard. That was the moment I decided Karen was going to learn humility. 1 week before the incident, I was in the break room pouring coffee when Karen cornered me. "You've been using the front entrance for clients," she hissed, pointing a manicured finger inches from my chest. "That's unprofessional. Do you think this is some low-rent operation?" I smiled politely. "I apologize, Karen. It won't happen again." That only enraged her more. Maybe if you had more ambition, you wouldn't be stuck in that tiny office forever. What she didn't know was that I'd signed the closing papers that very morning. The building, her kingdom, was now mine. The day it happened. So when Karen barged into my client meeting and fired me in front of everyone, I didn't argue. I gathered my notes calmly, turned to my clients and said, "I apologize for the interruption. Perhaps we can reschedule for tomorrow morning." Karen smirked, mistaking my composure for defeat. As my clients exited, she leaned in close and whispered venomously, "I've been waiting to do that for months. You're just another stepping stone for people like me." I smiled faintly. "You might be surprised, Karen." Then, right there in the lobby, I took out my phone. "Hi, James." "Yes, it's me." "Everything went through?" "Perfect. The building is officially mine as of 9 a.m. "Excellent. Please have the new management notices prepared for tomorrow." Karen froze mid-breath. The color drained from her face. Without another word, I walked past her and left. The next morning, I arrived early with the new property management team. Together, we posted official notices throughout the building. Notice: effective immediately. Oakwood Professional Center is now owned and operated by Smith Properties. All management matters should be directed to David Williams, property manager. By 9 a.m., we were monitoring the new security feed when Karen strutted up to the glass doors, swiped her card. The light turned red. "Access denied," she frowned, tried again. Still red. Then came the inevitable pounding on the glass. "Let me in." "What is this?" The security guard pointed to the new notice taped to the door. Her face twisted with confusion and fury. Moments later, David walked up and calmly let her in. She stormed past him, straight toward her office, only to find the locks had been changed. A small crowd began to gather. Employees peeked over cubicle walls, whispering, phones subtly recording. "Where is he?" Karen barked. "Where is that nobody who thinks he can play games with me?" I stepped forward from near the elevator. "Good morning, Karen," she blinked. "You?" Her voice cracked. "This is some kind of joke." "Actually," I said evenly, "Smith Properties is my holding company. I purchased the building last week. The ownership transfer became official yesterday morning, about an hour before you fired me." Her jaw fell open. "That's impossible." "You drive a 10-year-old Honda," I smiled. "I believe in living below my means." I handed her a document. "As the new owner, your position has been eliminated effective immediately." The meltdown, Karen's face turned crimson. "You can't do this to me." "I'll sue you." "You're welcome to contact my attorneys," I said calmly, "but I have extensive documentation of your harassment and mismanagement. Now please, collect your things." That was the breaking point, Karen snapped. She screamed, "You think you're better than me? I built this place." Then she grabbed a potted plant from the front desk and hurled it across the lobby. It crashed against the wall, dirt scattering everywhere. She turned, grabbed the receptionist's computer monitor, and shoved it to the ground. The glass shattered. "This is my building." She shrieked, eyes wild. "You're all fired. Every last one of you." David called security while I tried to reason with her. "Karen, please stop. You're making this worse for yourself." She spun on me, trembling with rage. "You think you've won? I'm still the HOA president. I'll ruin you. I'll fine you for every weed, every trash can, every—" She didn't finish. The security team arrived and tried to escort her out, but she slapped one of them across the face. That was it. David called 911. The arrest minutes later. 2 officers entered the building. Karen was now barricaded behind the reception desk, shouting nonsense about conspiracies and betrayal. "Ma'am," one officer said firmly, "you need to calm down." But Karen lunged forward, trying to shove past them, straight toward me. They restrained her immediately. Despite her struggling and screaming, she was handcuffed and read her rights. The sight was surreal. The self-proclaimed queen of both the HOA and the office building, now being escorted out in cuffs. Her final words echoed through the lobby as the officers led her out. "You'll regret this. I'll destroy you." The doors closed behind her. Silence fell, and for the first time in years, the building felt peaceful. The fallout a week later, Karen appeared in court, charged with disorderly conduct, property destruction, assault, and trespassing. She still insisted she was the victim. The judge wasn't impressed. She was sentenced to 100 hours of community service, ordered to pay $7,000 in damages, and issued a restraining order barring her from the property. Word spread quickly, both through the neighborhood and the HOA. Footage of her arrest leaked onto the residents' group chat. Within days, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. The vote to remove her as president was unanimous. When the news was delivered, witnesses said Karen just sat there staring blankly, her mouth opening and closing but no sound coming out. The woman who once controlled everything. The office, the HOA, the neighborhood, now had nothing left to control. I still work in that same office today, Though it feels completely different, the air is lighter. The staff smiles again. Every so often, I catch myself thinking back to that day in the lobby, the way she pointed her finger, declaring my fate like a queen issuing an edict. She thought she was firing me, but in truth, she was just signing the final chapter of her own downfall.